Greetings! I'm Troy Newham, the author of 2084, The Search for Love, Hope, and Faith, available on Amazon.com in Kindle and paperback versions. And this week's message from Moses is going to be about why I hate reporters. You know, I can actually pinpoint the moment when I lost all respect for the news and decided that it could not be trusted to bring you the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth because they were biased. And that was the town hall debate between McCain and Barack Obama back in 2008. And I don't even remember the question so much, but there was this one point in the debate that John McCain actually went up in the air and you could see him spinning around like a crazy Japanese anime cartoon and just gave the most vicious verbal backhand to Barack Obama, sending him sprawling and whining to the ground like a little girl. And Barack Obama said, "Can I respond? Can I respond? I should be able to respond," even though his turns were up and he didn't have any more. He acted like a child, man. And at the end of the debate, the newscaster said, "Well, what a commanding performance by Barack Obama. Such eloquence, such maturity, how wonderful he is." And I was like, did we watch the same debate? Because this guy seemed outclassed. He acted like a 5-year-old. I mean, it was pathetic. And I was like, well, you know what? There you go. They can't be trusted. So today I want to talk about all the little things that show that basically, the reporters are in bed with Obama and they brought the lube and they're good to go. Okay, first of all, let's talk about the Middle East. All right. Tell me, if Bush wasn't still the president, that you would not be seeing 24/7 coverage of that ambassador being dragged through the streets, the embassies burning, and all this. But it doesn't get a mention. Ambassador dies since the first time since Jimmy Carter, which, isn't it interesting that we have gas problems, as we did with Jimmy Carter. We have unemployment, as we did with Jimmy Carter. We have inflation, as we did with Jimmy Carter. Middle East problems, as we did with Jimmy Carter. Jimmy Carter, Jimmy Carter, Jimmy Carter. It's all there. It's just really hilarious when you think about it. But you don't get to see this. Never. And the secret tapes on Romney. Okay? It's obvious that there's a huge part of that clip missing. And the person who released it is, guess who? Jimmy Carter's grandson, who has a chip on his shoulder because no one likes Jimmy Carter because he sucked. And that's not our fault. If he has a problem with it, he should have been born to someone whose grandfather wasn't Jimmy Carter. Whatever. But, he obviously has a chip on his shoulder. He doctored the tape to make it look as though Romney doesn't care about 47% of Americans, but when you watch the whole thing, it's blatantly obvious that what he's saying is, look, I can't get these people to vote for me, so let's not spend our resources trying to get them to vote for me, which is a rational decision. But at the same time, we don't see clips of Obama saying he's pro-redistribution. We have clips saying that. We don't see that the clip where he debated Hillary and said that he'd be for a higher capital gains rate even though it hurt the economy, bring less money into the government because he thinks it's fair, because he's interested in fairness and redistribution. We also don't see clips of him saying that his plan necessarily will cause energy prices to skyrocket because he wants to outlaw coal. We don't see these plans. We saw nothing but wall-to-wall coverage about how Bush hates black people during Katrina, but at the same time, there was flooding up in Memphis and other areas, and Obama didn't care. They were on their own. FEMA didn't show up. People just took care of themselves. Why? Because they like Obama and they didn't like Bush. A Patriot Act. All I could hear all during Bush years, and I hate the Patriot Act. I hate it. I promise you. I'm not defending the Patriot Act, and don't say that I am. But for 6 years, all we heard is, this is against the Constitution. They have killed our 4th Amendment, our 1st Amendment, all of our rights are gone. And then, while the Democrats have the presidency, the House, and the Senate, guess what? The Patriot Act was set to expire. They didn't even have to do anything. All they had to do was sit back, drink mint juleps, and say, hey, it's gone. The Constitution lives yet again, my friends. Liberty for all. But they didn't do it, did they? No, what did they say? Well, it's a lot of power. But when you trust the man who wields that power,
It's okay. It's okay. We trust Obama.
So that should tell you everything you need to know about the left. They talk a good game, but really they want to take your rights away too. And that's the whole point of 2084. It's not really anti-left, it's just saying that both sides can take your freedoms away and you need to defend it at every single step of the way. You can't be pro-right, pro-left, you have to be pro-you. You have to be pro the Constitution. You have to defend your rights. And they don't talk about this. Let's see, Gitmo. Bush. Torture. Gitmo, 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 Gitmo. First day of Barack's presidency, he'll close Gitmo. Has he? No. Are we going to cover that anymore? Nah. He's not Bush. We'll let it slide. Oh, okay. Yeah. Just as long as we're on the same page here. Hate to think we weren't on the same page. The debt. Why is this not getting any coverage? We are in debt. They're not covering that. They're not covering QE3, where we're printing money. We're about to lose our AAA minus status, and we're about to go, no, excuse me, we're down to AA, I believe. We're about to go to AA minus, and not a word of it. You know, he's tripled the money supply so far. He's propping up the stock market with all this printing, which is valueless, really, when you adjust it for how much money supply is out there. No coverage, no real coverage at all. Afghanistan. When Bush was president, if there was a death, you heard about it all day long. Now, you might hear about Afghanistan in passing, yeah, maybe once a month. I don't know if there's a slow news day or something. The Tea Party. Alright, the Tea Party is a bunch of racists who hate Barack Obama because he's black, even though, you know, they like Rubio, they like Alan West, they like Mia Love, they like Herman Cain. But, you know, I guess to the newscasters, their thought is the Tea Parties are like, oh, them's the good ones. I don't know. Meanwhile, Occupy Wall Street, what valiant young people standing up for the rights. You know, redistribution, Marxist, okay. Yeah, the Tea Party gets blamed for Gifford shooting, for the Colorado shooting, all these events, and then it turns out that the Tea Party wasn't involved. Do the media release a statement saying, oh, dude, we're wrong, our bad? No, it's just like, well, you know, they wish that they had shot Gifford, so we'll just leave that out there. Meanwhile, Occupy Wall Street's over there raping women, you know, vandalizing stuff, stealing, just being obnoxious, anarchist, anti-constitutionalist, pro-revolution, Marxist, blah, 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 blah. Any mention? Nah, we like them. So, go Marxism. Okay, UN treaties. You know, the Obama administration is for the Law of the Sea Act, which, thank God, got shot down, where we would have given up our national sovereignty to the UN. Way to go. We were also for the Rights of the Child Act, which has not come up for a vote, but basically it's going to be where you, Americans, are responsible for feeding and housing all the rest of the children of the world, because children have rights. Yay, I'm so glad that we're doing that instead of, you know, allowing charities to worry about feeding the children of the world. We'll just take that upon ourselves, no problem. Then there was the Small Arms Treaty, which got defeated, thank God. And basically, we would have had to register all of our weapons and blah, blah, blah. Here again, you know, if we can't screw the people out of their rights under the Constitution, we'll just do it through a multinational treaty. Sounds great. You know, then you have tax returns, and they're all worried about how much taxes that Romney has paid, as though taxes is some kind of equivalence to patriotism or how charitable you are as a person. You know, if you take into account charity and taxes, and yes, taxes is such a charitable event, isn't it? Isn't it lovely how people open their hearts and their wallets to the IRS and see that the money is well spent and it's not wasted in any way? Or But anyway, if you take those in, we'll assume that taxes is the same thing as charity, which is a big stretch, but we'll assume. Obama paid 42% of his income to charities. Romney paid 44% to charities. Of course, in Romney's case, 30% of that was actual charitable givings, whereas about 50-50 for Obama, which, I'm not, well, I mean 50%, 20%, 20%, whereas Romney paid 14% and 30% to charity, if you see what I'm saying. But all we hear about is Romney isn't paying his fair share of taxes. You know what? He is paying his fair share of taxes because he's doing it under the tax law. And as I always point out, we know that he's paying his fair share of taxes because he ain't in jail. Because you can't tell me that Obama didn't call Geithner and say, hey, pull Romney's return, see if we can get him on something. This is the single most corrupt administration in our lifetime. You don't think that they're doing stuff like that? Then you're a fool. But here we are. Let's see, is there anything else I want to talk about? Gas prices. How could I forget? I remember when Bush was president, gas went up to about $3 a gallon and everyone panicked and it was on the news. Oh my God, look at the gas prices. Meanwhile, Barack Obama's over there, doubles to $4 a gallon. Any mention? Has anyone heard of it? No. So, these are just many examples, and there are a ton of them. I mean, it's just constant. And in 2084, I say that the leftists of the 60s infiltrated our educational system to brainwash our children, and our entertainment centers to brainwash the masses, and the news organizations to mislead us and lead us down a road of socialism. And I think that's pretty accurate. I mean, you look at how they act, you look at how they cover the news, the differences between how they cover the two parties. The Republicans are the ones that are causing all the gridlock in Congress, even though the House of Representatives actually passes laws, sends it up to the Senate. And what does Harry Reid do? Does he call it to the floor? Does he allow for an intellectual discussion on the topics? Does he try to amend them to create some kind of dialogue? No. He shelves them. Why? Because basically he doesn't want the Democrats to look bad for voting for or against these bills in the election. Yeah, there you go. And also he wants to promote this narrative that the Republicans are the ones that are causing the gridlock. And with the news media helping him, he's doing a good job. There's a reason why the freedom of the press is in the First Amendment. It is necessary to know what is really going on and what our politicians are really doing and hold them accountable if we wish to remain free. So do your best to seek out what's really going on through alternative channels. Also, more importantly, read the news and really think about it. And think if things make sense, because it's really obvious when they're lying to you. If you just think about it and you say, how would a normal, rational person act if these were the facts? And things don't add up. And that's how you know you're being misled. Anyway, read 2084, The Search for Love, Hope, and Faith. It's all happening, and, it's prophetic. Give it a try. I also recommend War Journal. It's not as important, but it's a good read. Check it out. I maintain a blog at swampfoxpress.com. It's a libertarian blog. I hope you enjoy it. Long live the Constitution. Signing off.